Guys, we need to talk about a new exotic that was brought to us in Lightfall called Cadmus Ridge Lancecap. This is a new exotic stasis helmet for Titans. And let me just be real, we are a tad bit less than impressed with this exotic. Over the past few weeks, we've tested a number of different builds, all using this new stasis Titan exotic helmet, and the results were disappointing, to say the least. We're gonna dive into this exotic to talk about how it works and exactly why it's so mid. Now, first off, this helmet has got to be one of the most unique looking exotics we have ever seen. And by unique, I mean awful. No, really, guys. I mean, I know my drip is not the best, but even the sexiest Guardian can't rock this helmet. I don't know if it's the cap, maybe it's the iceberg for a face, maybe it's the pinpoint eyes. I don't know. Now, granted, it's okay if it's a hideous looking exotic. Sometimes those are the best. And over time, as you begin to rock these exotics more and more, it does start to grow on you. But I mean over a long period of time. Now, where my issue really arises with this exotic is with how it works. The Cadmus Ridge Lancecap has an exotic perk called Lancer's Vigil, whose description, when you hover over the helmet in the collections or in your inventory, reads, improves diamond lances. And that's it. When you click into the exotic, you're met with a wall of text, the kind you can tell that with just a glance, this exotic was going to be niche. Now, Lancer's Vigil reads, diamond lances create stasis crystals on impact when thrown, with more crystals created by hitting bosses and vehicles. While using a stasis subclass and behind your rally barricade, rapid precision hits and combatant final blows with a stasis weapon creates a diamond lance near you. Now, I find the best way to understand this exotic and how it works is to split the description into two. So let's start with the first half. Diamond lances create stasis crystals on impact when thrown, with more crystals created by hitting bosses and vehicles. This makes any diamond lance you throw form a stasis crystal on impact, with a different size and number of crystals depending on the type of enemy. Now, you get a small crystal when you hit nothing, just the ground or the wall or whatnot, and one full-size crystal when you hit a regular enemy, and two for some majors, and three full-size crystals for bosses and vehicles. Now, the way Diamond Lance normally works is that you shatter and defeat targets with stasis abilities or weapons to create a stasis lance. You then throw the lance to freeze targets on impact, or slam the lance to the ground to freeze targets in a small area. So essentially, guys, you get a kill with a stasis weapon or ability and spawn a lance, which can then be thrown at things to then freeze them. But with Cadmus Ridge Lancecap equipped, it adds that crystal generating effect on top of freezing the target you throw it at. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a cool interaction, but we were hoping something along the lines of a damage buff to the lance itself. Diamond Lance by itself only does 8,593 damage from a direct impact. With Cadmus Ridge, that number stays the same. But Cross, the buff comes from shattering the crystal it makes. You're right, sort of. It's great for minors and some majors, maybe even champions in the seasonal playlist, and perhaps future content when we have a stasis surge going. But for actual damage checks, as well as enemies and harder content, it's really not that great. Now, what Cadmus Ridge does is that it allows our Diamond Lance to synergize with our subclass fragments like Whisper of Chains, where while you're near a frozen target or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets, as well as Whisper of Shards, where shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate, and shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. And of course, Whisper of Fissures, which increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a crystal or defeat a frozen target. Now, there are many times while playing with this exotic that we could actually grab a Diamond Lance and just chuck it behind us nearby, either to shatter the crystal for that awesome grenade regeneration or have that passive damage resist. Now, the second part of the exotic armor perk states, while using a stasis subclass and behind your rally barricade, rapid precision hits and combatant final blows with a stasis weapon create a Diamond Lance near you. And guys, it doesn't just create the Diamond Lance near you, it creates that bad boy on you while you're behind your rally barricade. There were multiple times that we were plugging away, getting our precision shots in, and then bam, a lance spawns right on top of where we were standing. Now, you'll be crushing skulls, and then suddenly your interact button will pop up to then grab the lance. Now, this wouldn't be so bad if you could just shoot through the Diamond Lance, but turns out sometimes when it spawns, it can actually get in the way and block your shots. There may have been a situation where once or twice we swapped a heavy mid-fight and ended up KOing ourselves because of our Diamond Lance. But what this perk is really doing for us now is giving us more ways of spawning Diamond Lances, and in a way that's convenient to pick up. With Cadmus Ridge, you don't even need the Diamond Lance aspect equipped to have Diamond Lances spawn for you, giving you more build options to play around with. Now, after a little bit of testing, we found that a Diamond Lance would spawn on you behind your barricade after 3 precision hits, and this is both in PvE and inside of PvP. The main difference here, though, is simply the cooldowns between PvE and PvP, approximately 7 seconds inside of PvE and 14 seconds inside of PvP. Now, what we were surprised to find out was that it doesn't need to be 3 precision hits from a stasis stasis weapon specifically. So long as you're using a weapon that can crit, you'll be able to spawn a diamond lance with Cadmus Ridge Lancecap. Very interesting there. Now, the other way you can spawn a diamond lance with this exotic helmet is not with combatant final blows with a stasis weapon, but rather with precision final blows with a stasis weapon. Now, no, it doesn't say that here. The text is confusing. The way it reads, it seems like it should just be combatant final blows with a stasis weapon to create a diamond lance. But in all of our testing, we could not get non-precision final blows to create a diamond lance. We tested it with the new compressed waveframe, hypotrochoid. We tested the stasis rocket launcher, Palmyra B, and we tried multiple times with multiple different stasis primaries, getting rapid body shot kills. The only time we got a diamond lance to spawn was with a precision stasis final blow. Now, is this supposed to be the intended behavior of this exotic? I don't know. I will say Bungie's been running really behind on updating exotic perks in-game to read out the description correctly. According to the exotic armor perk, while using a stasis subclass and behind your rally barricade, rapid precision hits and combatant final blows with a stasis weapon creates a diamond lance. So to me, that reads as you need to be on a stasis subclass behind a rally barricade using a stasis weapon and getting either rapid precision hits or rapid combatant final blows. But for an exotic that revolves entirely around stasis to allow any weapon that can crit to benefit from it, granted, it does seem fishy, but at the same time, I'm okay with Bungie letting it slide. Now, the problem with all of this though is that at the end of the day, you're jumping through a lot of hoops to do nothing other than spawning a diamond lance. And even though stasis is good, especially at locking enemies in place, guys, have you played with Ambient Leap? Have you seen our suspend build? Literally casting your class ability suspends an entire room full of enemies, which is why the more I play with Cadmus, the more I feel like this exotic is just gonna get thrown into my vault with the rest of my wasted Titan exotics. And we tried everything here, guys, to really make this work. We made a few PvE and PvP builds. We sourced our awesome Discord community. Feel free to join us if you like. We even grabbed some builds from other creators to try. For the love of God, I broke out Salvation's grip just to see if we can make something work with it, which was low-key kind of dirty with all the crystals and shatter damage. Just saying. And Salvation's grip is supposed to be getting a buff at some point. But at the end of the day, anything we did with Cadmus Ridge, it just felt like other classes, other builds, even here on the Titan class, could just get the job done easier. And to be honest, if I was really just trying to lock down a stasis build, dude, I would just rock stasis curves. With that being said though, if you're a Titan and a stasis lover, this exotic can be a lot of fun. There's 1,001 combinations to pair with this helmet, so even though it may not necessarily be meta as some of our other builds, it does have that flexibility of only needing precision damage to spawn a diamond lance for you. And keep in mind, if we do end up getting an artifact mod at some point in the season, like focusing lens, or we even find ourselves in a stasis surge environment, this exotic may prove to be useful. For the time being though, I have to ask my fellow Titans, what exotic is more useless? Cadmus Ridge Lancecap or Point Contact Can Embrace? No lie, guys, we're gonna be making an entire list soon of exotics on every class that desperately need help. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.